Welcome. If you got a camera, let's turn it on. If you have your sound on, let's go get it muted. If you've ever taught a class or had a Zoom meeting and everyone had their cameras off, you know how horrible that feels to talk to a bunch of boxes with names on it, especially the ones that say like iPhone parentheses 4, and I have no idea who that is. So would love for you guys to turn on your cameras. Also, open up those chat boxes. If you're not driving and you're in a stable place, open up those chat boxes because we are going to have an opportunity to chat in the box. I'm going to ask you guys to constantly, put information in there. And because I like the classes that I give to be somewhat, how do we say, interactive, right? Like, I think personally, if I sit in a class and I just watch somebody for 45 minutes, talk, it starts to get a little boring. So I like to get interaction. I like to see what people have to say. And so if you're on this class, I'd like you to A, turn on your camera, B, open your chat, C, be in a stable location. If you're driving, you can avoid everything that I'm saying. All right. I don't want you to get into a car accident and say it's David's fault because he wanted me to participate in the class. Okay. So if you're driving, be safe and just listen in. I'm going to be doing stuff on the whiteboard behind me. So, if you can see it, great. If you can't, the replay will be available to you. Obviously, we take this and we record this session and we put it on YouTube. So if you're not, Mike, if you could put my YouTube channel in the chat, please, so that everyone has an opportunity to click on the link and subscribe to our YouTube. But we put at least 1 to 4 videos on YouTube every single week with information and education and topics. And every Monday at 8:30 in the morning, we do a live call on YouTube. We call it the Monday kickoff. So it's 8:30 in the morning Eastern Standard Time. So it might be super early for some of you guys on the West Coast. But it just so happens to be where I am. And it'd be kind of weird for me to do a 12 o'clock Monday morning kickoff, right? So we do that every single Monday. And then this training session has typically been hosted every other Thursday. So here we are today, Thursday. We're going to be live again in 2 weeks. And that'll give us the opportunity to have consistency in the training. We did take the summer off, obvious for a lot of reasons. One, most of you guys were not available throughout the summer. So we were getting attendance of like one person, right? That would be like a one-on-one coaching. So we decided that we we're going to take the summer off. Obviously, it gave me a little bit more time to focus on the summer and my kids and stuff. So now that everybody's back in school and back in the mix, and, people's mindsets tend to start really going, okay, like I got into it. I did my summer. Kids are in school. I'm back. I'm making it happen again. I can't tell you how many times I hear that with clients of mine that they're like, okay, I'm back, Dave. Like, what are we doing, right? For those of you that are joining us for the first time, my name is David Adam Kurz. I run a team here in South Florida in the Miami area. I also am a partner at New World Title, national manager for Primary Residential Mortgage Group. And I own a coaching company that I've been coaching real estate professionals for the last 11 years. So I've been in the industry for about 20 years, coaching for the last 11 years. Overall production is just over 1.2 billion in my time in real estate. And so I've had an exciting career and I've had a great time doing it. And it's been, I think, rewarding in many ways where I get to give back to the community and share a lot of information with you guys. And we do this completely free, by the way. Like, obviously, there's paid coaching programs that you can do with me, but this is free every other Thursday. So I invite you guys to take massive advantage of it. Obviously, you're here because you got the message or you registered, and I appreciate you guys being here. So we're going to kick off. Again, if you've got cameras, turn them on, baby. Let me see them faces. I want to see them beautiful faces. It's okay. If you're not looking great this morning, I promise no one here is to judge you. We are just, wanting to see you guys. Thank you so much, Maggie. Let's do it. All right. So now, today I want to talk about mastering negotiation in a tough market. And I think, when I wrote this class, it really wasn't a tough market. It was just negotiating time, right? When our team captain Rosie was representing the buyer, and obviously I'm the team leader, so I got involved towards the end in the negotiation process. Let me tell you how it ended. It ended with 3% commission for the buyer side. It ended with a veteran active, well, he's not a veteran, he's active duty Coast Guard member and his family purchasing a $475,000 house with $3,000 out of pocket. Right? So I want you to really do the math on this. This guy came out of pocket $3,000 total max and bought a $500,000 house, right? And he was using the VA loan, but there was so much other negotiation that went into it where there was a massive seller contribution, there was a listing agent contribution, there was a bunch of stuff that happened back and forth. And I think one of the things that people forget when it comes to negotiating is this is not a competition. And we'll talk more about this in a little bit, but negotiation is not a competition. Negotiation is a collaboration. And when you think of negotiating as a collaboration, it changes the mindset because now you're not competing with the person. You're not trying to outdo them. You're just trying to outsmart them in a collaborative sense. And I know that sounds crazy, but it's true, right? So we're in a market right now where deals are harder to come by, okay? And with the deals being harder to come by, negotiation, honestly, it isn't even a skill. It's a requirement. Like it is a survival skill, if you will, right? We're in this crazy industry right now. And, you know, the market right now, believe it or not, a lot of people don't realize this, but home sales are lower than they were in 2008. And so when you look back at 2008 and we think about the market crash and we go, oh, we're not in that market crash. Well, no, we're not in the same situation, but we definitely have less homes. And the more and more people I talk to, they talk to me about the fact that they're seeing more short sales and more foreclosures hit the market. And that's a scary thing. And so for us, how do we become the master negotiators to put our buyers or sellers in the absolute best position, right? And so I told you this personal story because this personal story that I had with, and literally I'm telling you, it closed and funded 5 minutes before I turned this Zoom on, like goosebumps went up because of all the negotiating that went back and forth, right? And so again, I'm going to tell you that negotiation is not a confrontation. It's not about a fight. It's a collaboration with strategy, all right? And if you could bring that mindset to the table when you begin negotiating, then you're going to see a massive difference in the way that you negotiate. And what I would also say to you is as you begin to negotiate and as we talk about what the contradictions are and the best tactics are, what I would say to you is that take your time in negotiating, okay? Take your time in negotiating because what I see happen a lot is these very quick answers coming back, and these quick answers are not very well thought out. And I already know if you're negotiating against me and your answers are coming back like quick fire, I already know I'm not negotiating with somebody that's severely skilled. And so I would say take your time, leave a gap for air, leave a gap for thought, leave a gap for tension, right? Because when you give somebody an ultimatum in negotiating and then you immediately go back, sometimes you stick your mouth in your foot in your mouth, right? And if you just give them a moment to digest what's going on in the negotiation process, sometimes they'll come to you with a better option, right? And so those are the kinds of things we want to talk about. All right, so what's making the market tough right now? Obviously, we know higher interest rates are making the market tough. We're hoping and praying and fingers crossed that interest rates will come down. But if they do, does that really help us as an industry, right? Like let's say, crazy scenario, the interest rates drop down to 3.5, right? If we get the interest rates down to 3.5, then we could create a buyer's frenzy again. And that's great, but we still don't even have enough inventory. Why don't we have enough inventory? Because there's still a lot of people out there sitting on 2.5, 2.25, 2.75, right? And I'm one of those guys. Like I look at my house and I battle. I have a tremendous amount of equity in my house. I could sell my house and go buy something cash. But I look at it and I go, but I'm only on two and a half. Like it's like that's almost like the bank's giving you money, right? To have this mortgage. It's and so I'm that guy. I'm that guy that may or may not have my house on the market. And if I do, what am I going to do? If I put my house on the market, I'm going to put it at a higher price because I'm not really that excited to sell it. So if I'm going to make the best out of it. It's going to be the highest price possible, right? Tighter inventory. We just talked about that. It's still a tight inventory out there. Buyers are super cautious. Like we've seen that more and more and more. Buyers are hitting the market and they're very, very cautious about the steps that they're taking, the interest rate they take on. And no matter what you tell them, I've heard these crazy things like, what is it? Date the rate or something like that. I'm like, stop it, bro. Stop that nonsense. Just be super clear with people. Look, worst case scenario, you buy this house at this interest rate. And worst case scenario, the interest rates go up, you were safe. The interest rate comes down, you get to refinance, right? Like there's opportunities for you. But let's not pretend that refinancing doesn't come without repercussion. There's still an added closing cost that goes at the end of that house, right? And so we got to make sure that folks are okay with that. And also, this is not so much about the interest rate, it's about affordability. Can people afford it? So interest rates come down 3.5%. We get super excited. We hit the road. Guess what? Sellers go, lifting my price. And we're playing around with inflation. So is it good? Is it bad? I don't have the right answer for you. What I can tell you is that this particular type of cycle that we're seeing in real estate has probably never been seen before. So there's going to be a lot of lessons learned and a lot of education happening through this process, right? Sellers are defensive about price. I just told you, I'm that guy, right? I'm that guy that's going to put my house up high. Somebody's going to come in with a honest to God decent offer, and I'm going to go, I don't have to. I don't want to, right? And also, when prices begin to slip down, and in many states they already are slipping down, right? When prices begin to slip down, sellers are not going to come to that realization. They're going to say, no, this is my house. This is what it's worth. And listen, I've been doing this a long time. Like I told you, I've been selling real estate in South Florida 20 years. I've been in houses where people go, I put my love in this house, so it's worth more. Like, I'm sorry, sir, love doesn't make the house more valuable. I appreciate that, but it just doesn't, you know? I carried this chandelier all the way from Italy when I was there on vacation. So definitely it's going to be worth more. Okay, well, I mean, that's to taste, like if the person that comes in to look at your house absolutely loves Italian chandeliers, then maybe, but you bought it because you like it, not because you were preparing your house for sale, right? So when negotiating from abundance, we're negotiating survival, success, and opportunity. And that's what we're trying to get out of this, right? And so I'll ask you guys, and whoever's, I don't see a lot of cameras on, which means that hopefully maybe you're participating, maybe you're not. Maybe you're driving and listening to me or walking into a meeting and you have me in your headphones, and that's cool. But usually I like to get participation. So I would ask, what are you seeing right now as, and type this in the chat box if you will, what are you seeing right now as the hardest objections you're having to overcome? Like, is it price? Is it commission? Is it concessions? What are you facing right now? And feel free to write them in the chat box, guys. Hopefully we have at least 3 participants here out of the how many people are watching. All right, Wendy says price. Okay, cool. Richard says rates. Cool. How's price adjustments? Okay. More price, a lot of price. Rates, finding buyers. Dana, that's, yeah, find. I'm going to write that down because that's a whole different, obviously finding buyers is a whole different subject, right? And so really doesn't fall into negotiation. You got to have a buyer in order to get into negotiation. Brenda says they're waiting for the market crash for better prices. And listen, this is the crazy stuff, right? I'm going to talk to you about something. There's some golden rules when it comes to negotiation, okay? And in the art of war, it says, he who is prepared for the war is better apted to win the war. And that's where I feel like a lot of real estate agents completely have a hiccup. They go into negotiation without really truly understanding market numbers. They don't study the market, right? And so I'm going to give you guys a crazy piece of advice. Open up the MLS on a daily basis and look at the numbers. What's moving? What's listed? What's happening? It just so many different aspects in your market that are going to be different than what these folks are consuming on social media and MSNBC and Fox News and everywhere else, right? Because the news is going to pitch them one thing. And the news, by the way, the only way the news makes money is doom and gloom. There's no news station that you could turn on right now that is just bright and sunny the entire time they're on the news, okay? They have to sell you doom and gloom. Why? Because bad news travels faster than good news. It sells, man. It sells. That's why sometimes you see things like a title that says, market is crashing. And then when you read the article, it has nothing to do with the market is crashing. It's because that author knows that if they use that title, you're probably going to read the article to see what's happening. But if they said, housing is beautiful, you'd probably just scroll right past that because it wouldn't matter to you, right? And so the preparation helps you win the war. Knowing your comps, knowing your data, knowing your motivations, that really helps you win the war. So when we talk about rates, price, finding buyers, adjustments, okay? Somebody else wrote, waiting for the crash, okay? Waiting for the crash, I'm gonna put that. Waiting for a crash. What these folks don't realize is that if you know your numbers and you can educate them properly, we're in the crash, guys. We're in it. We've been in it for 2 years. Okay? So I don't know what they're waiting for. Here's the problem. Most people that are coming to you to tell you that they're waiting for the crash, guess what? They went to 2008. And because they went through 2008, they think that every crash looks exactly the same. So show them data between now, 2025, and 2008. You don't know how to search for data? Go to ChatGPT. I live in Miami, Florida. So I live in Miami, Florida. Please tell me the data for housing sales, housing holding, and the real estate market differences between 2008 and 2025. And ChatGPT will tell it to you. And when it tells it to you, use that data to have conversations with folks that are waiting for the crash so you can explain to them, like I said in the beginning of this, we are selling less houses per month than we were in 2008. But everybody's waiting for the Wall Street to crash and the banks to crash and the banks to be looking for bailouts. And that's not happening. It's not happening. Because the reason we went through that crash in 2008 is because banks were giving out loans to everyone. If you were a janitor at a school and you had a heartbeat, you got $1 million loan, bought a condo in Miami Beach. Interest only, 5-year balloon, which meant that in 5 years, you had to either A, come up with the money, or B, go into a normalized loan that probably wouldn't approve you, which C, led you into foreclosure, and there you were in a short sale or an REO. That's not happening. There's no one to blame for what's happening right now except for a natural disaster. We had COVID. And COVID changed the way things change after a world war. Why? Because COVID was a world phenomenon. It affected the entire world, not just the United States. Okay? So now, if we know this data, we can go to people and control the frame. And whoever sets the tone of the conversation helps win in negotiations. So we have prepare for the war and then control the frame. Okay? So I'm going to write these things down. Prepare for the war. That's number one. Number two, control the frame. Control the frame means that you set the tone for the conversation. If I'm coming to you and I'm telling you, great, I appreciate that you're waiting for the crash. Here, let me set the tone for you. This is where we were when we crashed. This is where we are now. Do you see the difference? Yes, I see the difference. Do you realize that we're selling less houses now? Yes. Do you think that this is a better market or that's a better market? Well, shoot, that was a better market. Why was that a better market? Because people were losing their homes and you could get houses cheap if you were in the position to do so. Problem was 90% of the people weren't in position to do so, which is why so many investors got rich. Right? Bring it back. Investors aren't getting rich right now. Investors are not even buying right now. They stopped. Even when you look at the major investors like Blackstone and all these big companies are buying up houses all over the country, they stopped. Why do you think they stopped? Because we're at that point. Right? We're at that point. Now, number three. This one is called listen, then leverage. All right. What is listen, then leverage? Listen, then leverage is, and there's something that I always talk about when I talk about sitting and meeting people to try to begin working with them or negotiating with them or attempting to earn their business. And it's that God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth so we can listen more than we speak. The problem with many salespeople is that they try to talk you to death. They try to beat you up with their words, right? And you guys get it all the time. They call you and try to sell you something, and they just can't stop talking. They won't even let you get a question in, right? And why do they do that? Because it's the fear that you might say no at some point. And if you say no, then they don't know how to object to that. But your job is to ask the deep questions to uncover the real pain points. Why are they looking to buy? Why are they looking to sell? This, by the way, when you know why, negotiation becomes severely more successful, right? Much more successful. So listen, then leverage. Listen to what they really need, why they're actually selling, why they're actually buying, what the real purpose is, why they actually want to wait, why they don't want to wait. You know, I had a client once that was kind of just fighting everything. And finally, I just took a minute and I took a step back and I listened. And when I listened to him, you know what I found out? He was fighting because he didn't understand it. Sometimes we get into things that we just like, oh, come on, just listen to what I'm saying. I'm trying to help you here. And yes, you are, but they don't know you. They just met you. And now they're trusting you with helping them purchase the largest asset they will ever own. So I took a step back and I said, hold on a second. Let me ask you a question. If I gave you this information step by step, would that better help you? And he looked at me and said, yes. And every point moving forward, I gave him this is what happens now. This is why you need to do it. This is what happens next. And after that, we get to the next step of this. And I can't tell you how much smoother that transaction went. It went so much smoother that at the end, when he had to wire his final funds for funding, He called me up with confidence. And he said, Dave, I don't know how to send a wire. Can you help me? Guys, we take that stuff for granted because we think this is normal life. We sell houses all the time. God bless us, right? We send houses all the time. So if we assume everybody knows how to send a wire for some money, but some people just don't. And so I walked them through it step by step on the phone. And I said, if you need to Zoom, let me know. Like, you used my lender. I know how much money you have in the bank. So let's get in it. You know what I mean? I'm happy to do it. Okay. Next one. Number 4 is value before concession. What is value before concession? It means never give without getting something back. So when you're negotiating, you want to give a little something and get something back. If I'm able to get my buyer to X, would you get your seller to Y? Right? It's basically saying, I'm going to go work on this and I'm going to give you this, but I'm not just going to give you something. I need something back. I need assurances, or I need another little bit of money, or whatever it is that you're fighting for. If I can get my buyer to come up 5K, can you get your seller to come down 5K? Can we do that? Right? The next one, and the final piece of this, is the most important piece. It's confidence is currency. How you show up affects how they respond. Confidence is currency. Confidence is currency. Okay. How you show up to negotiate is how they respond. If you show up scared, they know they can come in hard. If you show up unsure, they know they can come in hard. If you show up unprepared in the market and education and whatever it is, you don't know how to your contract. Like, I fight with real estate agents all the time in Florida that don't know what's on the contract. You've never read the contract. They just know how to fill in the blanks. That's insanity to me. You're getting your client to sign something you don't even know what it says, and they're supposed to trust you blindly? Are you out of your mind? Right? Know your stuff. Because when you know your stuff and you know the market and you know your business and you know your industry and you know the contract, you show up with confidence. And when you show up with confidence and you say, hey, this is what I need and this is why, and I'm going to get my buyer to do this, and I need your seller to do this, very different conversation. People with confidence will either meet you at confidence, and people who thought they could defeat you with little knowledge quiver to a lower position in the negotiation. Right? So instead of saying, can you lower the price? Say, if we lower the price, what would that allow you to achieve that you can't today? Giving opportunities like that change everything. All right, so strategy and tactic through this tough market. Buyer side negotiation. One of the biggest pieces on the buy side. Number 1 is urgency. Emphasize urgency, okay? When you're using communication verbiage and tactical verbiage, emphasize your urgency on why it's urgent to do something. For instance, waiting costs money, right? Like, hey, listen, you could wait, but you could also just keep paying that rent that you're paying and paying somebody else's mortgage off, right? And that's costing you money, by the way, because you get nothing. You get no tax write-offs. You get nothing. You get nothing. You own nothing. You're paying somebody else's ownership. Or, hey, listen, I don't know if interest rates are going up or down. But what I can tell you is this: if they go up and then you come back to me later and now you're nervous because they've ticked up a quarter point and you're afraid they're going to go up another quarter point and you want to buy now, you're going to be able to afford less. And prices are what they are. And we've got to battle that. So if you come back later when the tick goes up, we've got a problem. But if you buy now when the tick goes down, you can make a decision to refinance your mortgage if you wanted to, if it made honest to God sense. Right? I know a lot of people that bought at that 6% that if this market goes down to 3.5%, they're all going to refinance. And lenders all over the world will rejoice in happiness because you'll be buying them Ferraris. Okay. Number 2, negotiate credits instead of price reductions. I like credits over reduction. Because when you tell a seller or you ask a seller, whether they're your clients or not, to reduce their price, what you're asking them to do is to reduce the value of their home. And a lot of sellers will take that personally. So rather than reduce the price of the home, say, hey, these folks came back from the inspection. I think based on the information they've provided, this is a viable credit we could give them at closing. A credit feels nothing like lowering your value. Okay? The next thing I'll say is win with terms. Okay? Think about the terms. Win with terms means faster closing or short inspection period time or flexibility when it comes to certain things, right? Like somebody says, hey, man, my seller likes your offer, but my seller needs to be in the house for another week after this. And you go, great, let's do a post-occupancy. I'll talk to my buyer and let's close and have a post-occupancy for a week. I don't see why we can't do that. I think it's a win-win for everybody, right? Like that's flexibility. If you have zero flexibility and you're like a frozen rubber band, it makes it much, much harder for you to negotiate. Okay? Now let's go seller side. Those are my 3 points for the buyer side. Now I'm going to give you a couple points for the seller side. All right. Number 1 on the seller side, reframe concessions as investments to attract more buyers. Okay? So reframe concessions. Why are we reframing concessions? We're reframing them as investments. If we're back into a buyer's market and sellers no longer have control, then you look at sellers and you have to talk to them about creating an investment into the sale of their home in the form of a concession to the potential buyer so that we can attract more buyers. This goes in a lot of different directions, by the way. This goes also into offering buyers agents commissions, right? So we have this whole NAR thing with the commissions crap, right? And so now, if you are capable and able of offering commission to a real estate agent, they are more likely to want to sell your property, right? Does that make sense? And we already know buyers, they're up to here trying to buy a property in most markets. And so they can't afford another 3% on top of that. And so we look to the seller's agent and we go, hey, how much are you paying on commission? And if it sounds like a good number, you're going to have a better opportunity to sell the property. Same thing goes with saying, hey, listen, let's list it at this price, but we already know based on the information that we've discussed that the AC is not that great, this and that, and blah, blah, blah. So let's already put on the market. Maybe it is great, but it's old, right? Let's already put on the market. We're going to say $5,000 concession to the buyer who comes to purchase this home. That's really great. That's an investment on the seller side, and it's in the form of a concession to the buyer so we can attract more buyers. Right? We attract bees with honey, baby. Okay? The next one is anchor expectations with data. Okay? Anchor with data. When you anchor expectations with data, price per square foot, absorption rate, days on market, things like that, You help people understand how long it's going to take to sell their property, why it's going to sell for that price, why it's not moving, why it's not getting any views, why no one's coming to visit it, right? Like those sorts of things. Anchor all the expectations with data. You're expecting to sell this home. Here's the data that supports it in the process that we're in right now. Nobody's coming to see the house. You know why? Let me show you. Price per square foot in the area, the absorption rate is happening in the area. This is the average days on market that a home stays on the market based on the average price point that it's selling for. Those are the things that really help. On the flip side, with the buy side, right? Sometimes you've heard a buyer look at you and go, hey, you know what? That house has been on the market for 60 days. So we're going to like go super low. Hey, guy, hold on a second. Average time frame to sell a house in this area is 90 days. So, you know, if they know that, they know that. And what are you coming in with a battle for? Right? Like, let's just be realistic. Let's anchor it with true data. Okay. And finally, defend your commission. This is one of my biggest pet peeves. When things are tough, you need a strong negotiator, not a cheaper one. I love that quote. I actually put it in my notes. I tell that to sellers all the time. When the tough stuff begins to happen, you need a stronger negotiator, not a cheaper one. Nobody goes to a lawyer's office and says, hey, I got arrested yesterday and I just came out on bail and I'm looking for an attorney. And the attorney says, cool, I got a $15,000 retainer and I'm $400 an hour. You know what the people do? Where do I wire the 15 grand? They don't go, well, you know, 400, let me see. Well, I mean, does that really, like, does your quality of work and like, can I get it for 200 an hour? And let's say I send you like $2,000 in a retainer. And when that runs out, like, we'll look at it second per second. No, no one does that. No one does that. We're professionals. We're helping people move the largest asset they own in most cases. We're transferring their largest asset from them to another person or from another person to them. Why would you allow yourself to be discounted? So defend your commission on that sales side, okay? Some tactical tools that I enjoy, the pause. I call this the silent close, right? And when you ask somebody a question, I talked about a little bit earlier, many times when we speak too much, we tend to put our foot in our mouths. And so you have to allow for time for people to answer. When you're negotiating, ask for what you want and then shut up for a little while, right? Get that other side to fill the gap rather than you trying to fill the gap. So bracketing means, the next piece is bracketing. Bracketing means start high to low and land in the middle where you want, right? Remember what we talked about? Give me 5, I'll give you 5. Does that work? Right? That's bracketing, okay? And then in the conversation, if I get X, can you agree to Y? That's that give and get. Never give without getting and negotiating, okay? All right. Negotiating, again, I'm going to reiterate some stuff. Negotiating isn't about winning. It's about creating solutions. Listen, the buyer, the seller, the title company, the mortgage company, you, the realtor, the other realtor, everyone wants to go to the same place. They all want to go to the closing table. They all want to go to the closing table, except everyone has a different path of getting there. Right? So we're all on different paths. We all got a different GPS, and we're all using Morse code to talk to each other to get there. We all want to get there. Nobody goes into the negotiating going, I don't want to get paid today. Everybody wants to get there, and you have to keep that in mind, okay? Tough markets build tough negotiators. So use this market and adapt to this market, because when this market, if you survive through this market, when this market shifts, you will be a freaking superstar. All right. If you're a rock star now, you're going to be a celebrity when this market shifts. Okay. And take advantage of the opportunities that are in front of you. All right. Now, I hope today's session was super helpful for you guys. If it was helpful, type it in the chat box. If you have any questions, type it in the chat box for me. I'll wait a second and pay attention to questions that are coming through. But I super hope that this was helpful for you guys and that, you know, it helps you adapt the way that you're negotiating in today's market and in all future markets, by the way. Negotiating is the absolute number one tool that you need to have in order to be massively successful in this business. Okay. It has to be. All right. So again, Mike, if you could put my personal website up there, I'm going to put my personal website up here. It's davidadamkurz.com. It's my full name, davidadamkurz.com. And the reason I'm putting it up there is because I want you to explore all the opportunities we have and everything that we do, from the free coaching to our academy to the books that I've written. You name it, it's on there. So I'd be blessed if you check it out. Subscribe to our YouTube. We'll have this live on YouTube later on, either today or tomorrow. And super excited that you guys were here today. Thank you, everybody. And thank you, Wendy, for turning on your camera the whole time. I appreciate you. Same to you, Hamza. And, you know, I was using you guys as a class as everybody else gave me a name, right? So I appreciate you guys. All right. Take care. Have a great day.